Welcome to our third industry series webcast, Mental Health and Wellbeing during COVID-19. The signals, support and advice. So this is an industry series live webcast hosted by Open Table. In the last month, 2 months, we've seen unprecedented changes in our lives, and in the hospitality industry, we've been hit harder than anyone else. And so this discussion today is to help us chew through some of those challenges that we're all experiencing at the moment and to provide resources and support for those in need. Before we do begin, I want to make sure that you are aware that this presentation and a presentation of this nature may trigger a range of thoughts and feelings due to the topics discussed and the stories that we're sharing. This, of course, is a safe place and your wellbeing is paramount. It's important that if any time you do feel that you need to leave the session, you do so. And of course, if you need support, there are resources. The resources section is available to you, and there are a number of places that you can go for help. So myself, my name's Tim. I'm from Open Table. I've been with Open Table for the last 8 years, just over 8 years. But like so many people who work in supporting the hospitality industry, I'm also from the hospitality industry as a former chef, hotel and restaurant operator as well. The outbreak of the COVID-19 has impacted people in the world in varying ways on an international scale. The pandemic comes as many Australians are still feeling the effects of the recent impact of bushfires and floods and droughts. There's been so much going on lately, and we've seen hospitality being hit very, very hard, with businesses closing their doors and people losing their livelihoods. And it's understandable that a lot of people feel afraid, worried, anxious, and overwhelmed during this time. And we're thinking a lot more about our future, about the future of our friends, our family, our jobs and security and our businesses, and how we're going to get through it and how we're going to have changed when we come out the other side. And mental health has been a challenge to the hospitality industry, particularly with more focus in recent years. And it's never been more important to maintain the health of those people in the industry. So to get us started and to help with this conversation and to give us tips on the signs to look out for and what we can do to make sure that we're looking after ourselves and those around us, we're welcoming Liam Crawley, who's a chef and founder of Hospo for Life, and Glenn Cotter, who's a community ambassador for Are You OK? So together we're going to look at 3 simple topics: learning the signs so that you can ask the right questions, how to look after yourself during COVID-19, actionable tips to cope, get through now and beyond, and to provide resources and advice on how and where to get help. So firstly, we'll start with Liam. Liam started his life in the hospitality sector at 14 years of age as a butcher. He did his butcher's apprenticeship. He's been a chef, he's a business consultant, he's a catering business owner, and he is the founder of Hospo for Life. So Liam, this issue that we're experiencing today is very close to your heart. What led you to launch Hospo for Life, and can you tell us a little bit about what you went through and what Hospo for Life hopes to achieve?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So I developed Hospo for Life basically on the experience that I've had in the hospitality industry. I've had a very colourful career. It's been, I've had ups, I've had downs, and I've seen a lot of other chefs and people in the industry go through exactly the same thing. Over the past few years, more so, I've had some very close colleagues which have committed suicide, unfortunately, which has been really, really hard for me to, not only see, but, try and understand what they were actually going through. So last year, I decided to do something different, and that was create an outlet where people can get the support that they actually need. Through Hospo for Life and our partnership with our TIS group, they've got the option to be able to get that psychological support when they need it. The industry's so long and tough, and, at times we may not be able to attend an appointment, we might not be able to get the day off work. a lot of us work, a 13, 14-hour day, Tim, and that so it's hard for people to make those appointments during the standard 9 to 5, which most people would go and seek help and get an appointment. So we can work outside of those realms with psychologists 24/7. So that service is actually available when they actually need it and when they've got the time to actually, seek it. Hospo for Life as well. We do in-house workshops around Australia with different restaurants and restaurant owners, managers, which has been really fulfilling so far across Hospo for Life. So we've got a great range of support networks there for our hospitality industry to use.
Thank you. And Glenn, over to you. Glenn has hospitality experience over many, many years. He's been a large venue operator, a manager, a kitchen hand, and everything in between. Glenn lives in the Bega Valley, and he's experienced the bushfires recently firsthand and the impact that that's had. And he's an ambassador for Are You OK, which is, of course, a great support network. Glenn, welcome and thank you for joining us today. In your experience within the industry, what have you observed over the years that makes you so passionate about this issue?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tim, and thanks very much for the opportunity to be part of such a worthwhile presentation. I think over my years of experience in the hospitality industry and with 4- and 5-star hotel groups, and also working in isolated areas. I worked in Jediah Caves House for a number of years. And in the position up there, we were isolated. We had staff living on site and were unable to get home for periods of time. The area was very, it was restrictive in what you were able to do. A lot of the senior staff were on call 24/7. So it just places a lot of time and a lot of stress on home life, on families. The periods of time where you're working sometimes 8, 9, 10 days without a break. And as Liam said, sometimes you're working 15, 16 hours a day and you just keep rolling on. It catches up with you. You're under a lot of pressure. It's hard if you've got 200 people in-house and you have issues with a boiler where all of a sudden they've got no hot water. It's very hard to explain to people how you try and get that going again. So the pressure is constant there, and it's a little bit like the old the duck swimming on the pond that, on the top you're nice and calm and floating along, and underneath you're paddling like buggery to try and keep things alive. I used to have a conversation with a couple of my chefs that we walked out the front door into the reception area and everything was wonderful, where all hell was breaking loose in the kitchen. So, and I'm sure Liam's more than familiar with that analogy, that everything out the front's perfect and behind the closed doors all hell's breaking loose. But it's an industry that's so addictive, it's so passionate, it's so much fun to be in, but the pressures are just unbelievable to people outside that they just don't understand what's involved in it sometimes.
It's interesting you speak about the pressure of the hospitality industry, and I recall from my experience many years ago the high intensity of that pressure, and running a shift, a service, a busy night. The intensity is quite high, and usually it's only really for a relatively short period. So the actual service period when you're running at full steam can be quite short. And then once it's done, we clean up, we pack down, we write a prep list, we go home, and the pressure is relieved. But right now, people who are tuning into this webcast will be experiencing different pressure. So they've lost that high intensity environment. And now there's all sorts of other pressures and anxieties that will be building up. So Glenn, was staying with you. What are the 4 or 5 signs that we can look for? We know that a conversation can change a life, and just having that conversation with someone can really make a huge difference. So what are the signs that we should be looking for?
Well, the signs that we would normally look for are probably a little bit different to what we can do at this point in time. So the signs of it's just somebody's general attitude. Are they avoiding any phone calls? Are they just not responding to messages? Normally we'd say, are they not turning up for appointments? But obviously at the moment we can't look to that. Are some of their online posts a little bit different? Are they a bit more negative? So it's knowing our friends and being prepared to actually ask them, are they all right? And feeling confident that you can ask. So if you haven't heard from them, if they're suddenly not answering phone calls, even if you do manage to get an online chat with them, are they, just a little bit more down? Are they not taking the care in their own appearance that they might normally do? There's a lot of little telltale signs out there. Are they a bit more negative in their conversation? So some of those signs are things that are subtle, but they are there, and it's harder sometimes to pick them up without being able to talk to somebody face to face. So at the moment, it is a little bit more of a challenge as well. I can't hear you, Tim.
Excuse me, technology failure there, but we're back live again. Liam, back over to you there. Is there anything about the industry itself, or perhaps the lifestyle that comes along with the industry that tends to exacerbate mental health issues from your observations?
Oh, absolutely, Tim. And I think, I can speak from experience there. I've been through and done some of those things, from early on in my career, in my early 20s. Drinking was a massive thing to do, just to wipe away the stress of the day. And, those drinking sessions would end up going all night. So then one thing spirals into another. Then you're sleep deprived. And once you're sleep deprived, you can't think very much anymore. And so things get a lot more stressful and a lot more heated in a restaurant environment. So it took a long time to sort of overcome those sort of issues and problems and really work on them. And it's the same with the lifestyle, with, working those long hours or those 14, 15-hour days. Are you getting enough time for yourself and that to, stop and actually think about, hey, I've had a big day, now I need to switch off. I know when I was a head chef, it was extremely sort of, at the beginning, it was hard to manage and learn when to switch off. And same in business as well with certain projects. Like, when do you, turn the light switch off for the day and forget about everything to, get on with your evening or get on with your time at home and do something different? And I think it comes down to one thing which I've done really well is I find activities, I've got hobbies, and it's sort of a nice break up. I can work all day and then, I have a time set every day where everything stops. I do something for myself. And then if I need to go back and finish something off, I can go back and finish it off later, or it can be done the next day. So prioritizing my daily tasks in order of importance to, get through and, try and make it as easy as what it can be. It's not easy as a business owner by any shot. Whether you're working in a restaurant, long hours or, under a ton of pressure, it's the same as a business owner as well, where we all feel the same stresses and that. So times when, you need to just switch off from what you're doing, and learning how to do that is difficult for some.
Certainly the link to alcohol in the industry is something that's spoken about quite a lot. And right now, with the absence of the high intensity activity, the alcohol sits there and could be a bit of a challenge at the moment. And we see a lot of joking about it. If you open up your social media, there's going to be a joke there about wine time and what time that starts at the moment and all sorts of things. And it's something that's ingrained in our culture. But alcohol, how do you see, is there any tips that you can perhaps give to the audience about how we can just look at our use of alcohol during this time in particular?
Yeah, I think we just need to remember that, everything in moderation is okay. but particularly those which are struggling, with perhaps anxiety or, stresses of not being at work right now because their lives have just stopped from that high intensity, that it can actually, cause us to, for us to actually become a little bit more depressed by it. So it's a better way to, be gradual about it and, do things in moderation. So, you don't either sink into depression further and that, or, you can manage yourself a little bit better.
Mm. And you're in a unique position here as a supporter of the industry and those in need, Liam. But you're also a business operator, and you've had to essentially shut your business down, your catering business. So you've got both sides of this happening at the moment. So with that in mind, do you have any suggestions on how you can encourage, or perhaps how you have encouraged your team to recognise the signals and to find help at this time, and just the signals to how they can look after themselves as well? I've no doubt that you've had first-hand experience about balancing that right now.
Yeah, it was tough. So 6 weeks ago, when everything started to gradually close down even harder, it only took 72 hours for all of our clients to just, postpone for the however long we need to postpone for. So business just stopped. Our whole year just ended all of a sudden right there and then. So to, comprehend all of that was quite testing for myself. Not going through anything like that in my time so far. And that it took me a couple of weeks to, get through the feelings of, not just feeling guilty that, hey, all of our employees are now, haven't got any work either. But also my own mental health was suffering for the first week. I had a day where everything just really built up on me, and I felt like just running to the hills, and I had to make a phone call to a very close friend of mine and say, I just need to talk to you for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and that just to have someone on the other end of the phone to give me a little bit of support and encouragement. We're all in this together at the moment, so I'm no different to the restaurant owner up the road right now, which has lost their business as well. So the more I realise that the more support and the more we can get around one another and actually positively help each other, the better it is for everybody and everyone's mental health as well going forward for however long this is going to take us.
Yeah, it's a really encouraging and important message there that you've given, is that it's okay to just have a chat and to reach out to someone at the moment, whether they're a close friend or even someone a little bit further from you that you can have a bit of a chat to. Perhaps not waiting for things to really build up. And that sort of takes me back to you, Glenn. You mentioned the other day when we were talking that I think by joining and becoming part of Are You OK, that in itself served as a support for yourself as well. So do you have any suggestions as to how our viewers here could encourage their team to recognise the signals and to help one another in this time as well?
Yeah, I think one of the important things at the moment is twofold. From the employer's side of things, to still stay in contact with their employees. It's a hard time, obviously, and the employers, as Liam would be trying to keep their own, business afloat, but also to their staffs now trying to figure out what to do with themselves. So to be able to touch base and just drop a message or keep in contact with their employees and make sure that they're travelling all right, because we probably tend to forget a little bit about them while we try and keep ourselves going. And for the workers now who find themselves either on minimum hours or no work, I know in regional areas it's that much harder. Down through the valley and the coast, so much of our work is sort of casual or part-time, and a lot of people have 2, sometimes 3 casual jobs where, if one's quiet, they can keep up with a couple. Where a lot of the restaurant workers out here now have lost, all their shifts in possibly 2 restaurants or takeaways. So it's hard to feel like there's a positive in there at all at the moment for a lot of people. And then they're out trying to battle with Centrelink and go through all of that. But at the end of the day, as Liam said, we're all in it together. If we all support each other and all, keep an eye on each other, and remember that not only are we employees together, but we're also mates together and we're friends, and we've got to look after each other. And by checking in on your mate too, you're also checking in on yourself. So I know that for me personally, just having one person continually check in on me when I was going through my, dark time, was more of a saviour than what I realised, but also too, remembering that we are able and we are allowed to admit that we're possibly not travelling that well. Everybody's travelling a bit ordinary at the moment, so we've just got to admit that we are travelling a little bit ordinary, and that's all right. We're not failing by feeling a little bit anxious and scared and unsure at this point in time. It's to be expected. I think if we're not feeling anxious and unsure at this point in time, well, then we're not really having a good look at the situation.
And in your unique case, being in the Bega Valley, being so heavily impacted by the bushfires, essentially this whole process started quite some time ago. So, Glenn, have you seen some specific examples, perhaps not just hospitality businesses, but businesses that have been forced to shut down and lay staff off? Have you seen any examples coming out of that where people have perhaps done certain things, whether they're business leaders or just colleagues, and what they've done in order to just keep in touch with their teams and make sure that they're okay?
Yeah, I think as you hit the nail on the head, for us down here in the Bega Valley, and for so much of New South Wales as well, I mean, our bushfire event started just after Christmas. And for this region, we had fires up until recently, only 2 weeks ago, regardless of what people think. We were still getting fire alerts, and that just puts everybody on edge. I know personally we were, out of our house probably for a total of 19 days over the first 2 months of the year. And a lot of businesses were just starting to get back up and running towards the end of February, and we're really looking forward to a great Easter and a period of time now where tourism came back and they were able to sort of build on some of that loss that they did lose. A number of our businesses down here lost up to 90% of their Christmas and holiday trade, and we're looking forward to, a revival, I guess, and because now that's been pulled out from under them again. So it is worrying through the valley as to just what's going to come out the other end of it. But by the same token, a lot of our good restaurants down here have, really taken on the opportunity to run a smaller menu and run it as takeaway. So you can ring up, you can order your meal, you can turn up, and they'll, run around the car park with an FPOS machine in their hand and take your money with a smile and then send out the takeaway for you. Actually went to one the other weekend where we went out, pre-ordered it and turned up, and there was a number of cars in the car park, and the owner was running around with his FPOS machine, and it was a bit like the old 1980s and 1990s drive-through restaurants where you pulled up and the waitress rolled out in a roller skates and took your order. So there's a good initiative down here with takeaway coming into play. And there's businesses just trying hard to find a way to do it. Local pizza place that's actually put a side window in now into the side of the building where you can order and then just turn up at the side window and they push it out that way rather than going in the shop. Coffee shops trying to do a similar thing, but we've gone from just in the Bega centre where, I am, we've gone from 5 coffee shops open during the day now to 2. So not that there's a lot of around, but it's just getting harder and harder for people to keep going.
It seems that I was just thinking as you were speaking there that for a lot of business owners, the financial benefit may not be there for running their business at all at the moment. So they might start to consider that I might as well shut up shop because we're not making enough money to pay the bills. But I think from a mental health perspective, to stay busy and to keep some more people busy, that's a really great thing. Just to be giving people a purpose and something to do and to keep active and to get a smile and to interact with people at 1.5 metres or more, hopefully, but to be able to do something in the public. So flipping over to Liam then. Liam, I know that you're involved, I suppose, with Hospo for Life for doing these types of things anyway, but good news stories, good things that you've seen operators doing in order to stay connected with their staff. Have you got any quick stories you can share about that maybe some of our listeners could take back to their business and a little idea to sort of keep in contact with everyone?
Yeah, I think one area which has really impressed me since all of this has happened are restaurants, getting behind not only and everyone's volunteering their time right now to, produce food for the rest of our hospitality industry, which can't afford it, which don't have the funds right now or the ways and means to actually be able to look after themselves with the essentials. It's something I've never seen before in my time, and I think it's absolutely impressive, the amount which have just, they might have just closed their businesses down, but they've just turned it around overnight. Food deliveries coming in from different places which want to send them some food to be able to create meals for the industry. And I just think it's absolutely amazing. I think another area which, we can all get together as well is volunteering and helping the others make this happen right now as well. And so, yeah, that's how I feel. But yeah, I think it's been absolutely, it's heartwarming just to see the whole industry actually come together this time and, look after the ones that really, really need it.
Yeah. So getting back to the topic of wellness and health, some people might be reluctant to reach out. Quickly starting with Glenn, what advice do you have for someone who maybe hasn't reached out and spoken to someone before? They don't know where to start. And let's say they don't feel confident speaking with friends or people that they know. Where can they start? What can they do to just start the ball rolling?
Well, I think the main thing and where you sort of hit the ball, the really got the point there is that a lot of people are scared to actually ask their mate if they're all right. They may see that and have a concern that someone's not as good as they could be. But as a collective, we tend to be a little bit wary of asking the question because I think sometimes we can be scared of what the answer might be. And in some surveys recently that only 60% of people thought they may be comfortable to actually reach out and ask someone if they're all right. And I think that boils down to the fact that people are scared. We're still a little bit scared of that mental health issue. And for me, it was just simply the fact that someone rang up and asked me if I was all right. Now, when I finally admitted that I wasn't, his only response to that was, well, let's just go and have a cup of coffee. He didn't try and provide me with any great mental health plan. He was just happy to sit and talk. And with Are You OK, we look towards a simple message of asking somebody if they're all right. And that can take a lot of courage. So to anybody who does ask somebody, massive credit to them because it really can be a bit scary. Sit and listen to them and just let them talk. And quite often, and I'm, as Leon indicated too, sometimes we don't need answers. We just need to talk and get it off our chest a little bit and feel that we're comfortable to talk. And sit and listen to your mate and let him talk and hear him out. Possibly then, we encourage you to offer them some suggestions. Don't try and psychoanalyse them. That's a scary thought. You don't really want to go inside somebody else's mind. Mine's scary enough at any point in time. Encourage them to possibly, have they spoken to a family member? Have they spoken to a friend otherwise? maybe go and talk to their doctor and just talk to them about what they're feeling. That's a great place to start, because if you've got a relationship with your GP, they can sit and start to put a mental health plan together for you. And then just check in on them in a week or two and just see how they're going. Again, follow up. Have they had a chance to talk to the doctor, or are they a bit reluctant to it? But just ask those questions, and again, just check in, but don't put any pressure on. So, ask them if they're okay, listen to them, encourage them to find a little bit of that help themselves, and also then just check in and make sure they are okay. And it's a simple message, and sometimes it seems a little bit too simple, but it's effective, and I can vouch for the fact that it really does work.
Great advice. And so for people who perhaps aren't at the stage where they feel they need to reach out, it's still important to stay on top of your own mental health at this time, to be aware of that. What sort of things, and we've got a slide there in the deck which speaking to some of the trends that we're seeing at the moment, so some trends in terms of what people are doing with extra time that they might be spending at home. So Liam, what sort of things can we do throughout our day just to keep us well, so to stop us from getting to that point where we might need to be really seeking out help with some urgency?
Yeah, sleep habits, getting into a good sleep pattern, either not staying up till 2 in the morning watching Netflix, but going to bed at a reasonable time at night, so you have a good sleep, you wake up refreshed in the morning, and then you've got time to do things with your day. Whether I've found personally, getting a good night's sleep, I'm waking up a lot earlier, I'm getting up, I'm burning off a bit of that energy and going for a walk to start my day, which is really getting my head nice and clear for what needs to happen for the rest of the day, as we've still got projects happening at this point in time. But even if I didn't have them, I think it sets you up to have a good day, and that doing activities during the day which might be not too much of one thing or not too much of the other, social media, and that limiting your social media time. I know mine's increased probably threefold, but the more we're on social media and scrolling through that news feed, seeing things that are going on in the news, I know I had to switch off because the news was just getting to me. I was like, I can't deal with all of this negativity coming through the news. So switching off from all of that actually did me a world of good. So just implementing little bits and pieces, eating some good food, it doesn't have to be expensive, some fresh ingredients, good vegetables. It's really good for your mental health. It's good for your mind. So those tips are the best things that I can give everybody who's on the webcast today, and that into, little ways they can get through their day.
And have you personally picked up any interesting new hobbies? Have you got any puzzles on the go or DIY projects that you're into there, Liam?
No, so I spend my time doing music on the side, which is, music's a great release, and that for anybody, and relaxing as well. So I spend a bit of time doing music. I also study as well, so I spend a bit of time doing study. I've been studying to be a commercial pilot for the last 12 months, so I spend more time doing that as well. So I break up my day and go, I'll do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of exercise, get some good sleep, maybe do a cooking video or cook some nice food and spend time with the family. It's great.
And Glenn, same question there. Anything interesting that you've been up to lately to keep yourself occupied and bubbling away?
Yeah, I've had to rethink what we do, because both my wife and myself are passionate motorcyclists, and we sort of really can't go and do that at the moment. And I do a lot of freelance photography and used to photograph a lot of bands and a lot of music events, which again, unfortunately, have sort of gone on hold. So I'm taking the chance to do something I've been going to do for a couple of years, and that's actually go through my portfolio of images and produce a coffee table book of all my music images. So I've got time to do that now and pick through that. Also, I'm finding all the jobs around the house that have been put on hold that haven't been getting done. So repairing a door in the stables, getting the yard back into some sort of shape, doing all those things that was going to happen, and just getting out and realising how much pleasure is working out in the yard and being back outside in the real world, I guess, rather than where we tend to go at times and forget just how nice it is to go outside and just be outside in the sun.
Great. And look, before we start to wrap up, is there anything, there might be some people watching and listening into this webcast that are interested in volunteering or doing something to help others. So do either of you have any tips on where people can look to perhaps contribute to helping with volunteering or other opportunities?
I think depending on where they are, I mean, for us down here in the regional area, we've got some wonderful community operations. We've got Community Pantry down here, which does so much for the local people. We've got still got Visit to Paul, Salvation Army that is still out helping people on a regular basis. So just have a little bit of a look at what's around. There's still a number of the smaller community groups, Rotary, Lions, your service groups are still doing actually a lot of cooking and a lot of delivering to assist with Meals on Wheels and community health. So there's a lot of things out there to go out and just have a little bit of a look around. It's surprising what's in the area that you really didn't realise was there. And, you know, all you've got to do is make up, as sort of Liam said, a little bit of cooking, make up some cookies, some muffins, and just check in with your neighbour, drop some on their doorstep, surprise them. But there's a lot of community groups out there that are still toiling away under the radar. So have a little bit of a look, maybe go on your local council website, list of community groups in the area, and just put your hand up. And it is so satisfying to actually go and help out and see the pleasure on someone's face when you can do something for them. It's really is so satisfying to see where you can help somebody else.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Glenn. And Liam, perhaps, I'm not sure, Glenn touched on quite a few opportunities there, and I know that you're coming from that position where actually looking to helps you as well. So any other opportunities that you can add to that?
No, I actually think Glenn just knocked it on the head, to be honest. There's still lots of things going on in our communities as well. And, you know, if it's not volunteering, there are other things we can do at the moment. There's lots of free courses which have gone up as well to self-study and actually, you know, become better in different areas, perhaps over hospitality that we haven't done before, or, you know, try something new as well on top of that. But I think Glenn hit it on the head there, that with the community groups, there's still lots of groups which need volunteers to actually support it right now. So yeah, get out there, have a good look around, and you'll find something which gets your interest.
Great. Well, Liam and Glenn, thank you so much for joining and contributing on this webcast today. It's a difficult time, but hopefully our viewers today have learned some of the signs so that they can ask the right questions of their friends and colleagues and family members. Have also picked up on a couple of tips as to how they might look after themselves during this time, make sure that they're staying safe and well. And of course, the resources are provided with this webinar. So we'd like to say thanks very much on behalf of Open Table. Thank you for joining us and for tuning in all the way through to the end. Stay well, stay safe. And please do reach out and ask someone tomorrow or today if they're doing okay as well. It's really important that we're really looking after each other, and you're just not sure, you know, what might be around the corner, and we've all learnt about that in the last couple of months. So thank you on behalf of Open Table. Thanks very much for joining this webcast today.
Thanks very much.